86 and 61 all-time, 54 and 40 in 2014. And versus Zurich, he's got a pretty sick record. It looks about 66% there on the stats shown at 34 and 17. And then in 22 and 14, a little bit of a weaker stat overall, but, you know, he's played against some of the tougher Zurich. You have to say, going into 2014, the highest level StarCraft 2 we've ever had, bar none in Korea. Things are as hard as it gets. So, I mean, you can imagine things get a little bit closer to 50%.
Yeah, it's really true. I just hate to say this, but, you know, a lot of those big wins were from earlier in the year. And he's going to have to turn it on here. I mean, he's got a lot of work to pull here. You see him closing his eyes. He's definitely a bit nervous for this match. It matters so much for him right now.
Hair looks sick, though.
Yeah,
you got to dye your hair before KeSPA Cup, man.
Yeah.
All right, now over here, Rogue looking pretty standard with his haircut, but 66 and 73 overall. And if you look at his 24 record, he's got a negative record there as well at 33 and 38. But versus Pro Aussie, he's positive, and in 2014, he's got a 50% dead-on record here in this studio. And I got to say, I'm feeling like Rogue is the player who's just been getting better and better. He has these negative records, and he had a lot of trouble. He's also known as Savage and Climax. If you guys think back to past Pro League seasons, and when he first switched over to StarCraft 2, he had a lot of trouble early on, but he's quietly and very carefully, slowly becoming one of the best Zerg players in the world, I feel personally. So I think this guy's got a big chance of going far in this tournament.
He's not like Zest, you know. He's not a guy that comes out of nowhere and does amazingly. He's a guy that's on a small slope here. Let's see if he can continue that slope here.
All right, guys, it's time for game number one. Classic versus Rogue.
김도 versus GNL Green Wings Local 이병렬.
Down here in the bottom left, in the red for SK Telecom, the Protoss player, he is Classic.
And, of course, his opponent to the top right in blue for Generic Green Wings, it's Rogue. Only know it as Savage and briefly Climax, but it pretty much has discarded those IDs. I think, well, one season of GSL, he used that ID very briefly, Savage, even though he was using Rogue in Pro League, but I think that's all but gone now.
Sometimes it's hard to keep track of a guy who's used a lot of different names, you know. I was actually thinking about making a new name for myself. I'm not sure if I told you about that, but, you know, Brendan, it's not really an ID. It's kind of just a name that is my real name. Yeah. I was thinking about making a new one, but I'm not really sure what to make it.
Well, you know, for me, like, my ID, I guess, if you go the furthest, is Proxy Wolf. That's a cool little sign right there. And oh, he brought his girlfriend.
Yeah.
And she doesn't know StarCraft, he says. So please give us some good games for her so she can learn about StarCraft, I guess, is the idea there in that sign.
Yeah. The sign literally was like, she doesn't know the S part of StarCraft even, so like,
yeah,
I don't know, maybe that's just like saying like she doesn't know the first thing about it. So.
Yeah, exactly. Or maybe even just also further than that, anything about StarCraft in general, maybe never even knew that Brood War was a thing, and that's pretty crazy to not know, because StarCraft 1 in Korea was, everybody knows it.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to see a bit of a block action here. Does not get a hatch, but he's got a hatch first at home, and this Nexus will require 3 probes even. He's not messing around.
Yeah, delaying this a long time, though, especially against 3 probes, doing a very good job is Rogue, and he does get his drone out here alive, as well as that hatch first that you did mention.
Drone even taps that Nexus. When you're done, you're going to have a few shields missing, Nexus. Let's see, he's just going to lurk around here on the main base. Doesn't want to send that drone home too soon. Wants to get a little bit of extra information. Sees that gateway now. And I don't think he'll gas it or anything like that. He'll probably just head back home fairly soon to get that extra mining. But just lurking around, forcing a probe to be pulled here as well. Evening out that mining time lost. Does also see the pylon placement here, which is much more important in other matchups, but it can be really important. Now, he actually is, of course, talking about the fact that we have Engine here today. Very famous analyst, one of the most famous we've ever had in StarCraft 2 in Korea for Korean broadcasts. So he's...
yeah, very cool to have him come down and join the crew here, you know, casting crew. Well, we got a Cybercore on the way here with that Nexus first. You know, Rogue back at home. He just took a very greedy gas into late pool. He will be safe to do so.
Yeah. Just tapping a little bit here with this probe, getting a little bit of harass done, not really forcing too much lost mining time. Does see the gas here is no longer mining, so just straight up going into speed, getting those extra minerals out, so a lot of good information here for Classic. Now, on this map, we've seen all sorts of openings possible. You know, Immortal pushes even work here. Phoenix openings, Oracle openings, all these openings are pretty standard. And I feel like we're going to see a Stargate opening from Classic here. For game number 1 on the most standard map in the pool, I think that's, you know, probably what we should expect here coming out, and that's what Rogue is trying to identify right now.
Yeah, I wouldn't even like to see him do some kind of blink play, like 6-gate blink at the third base of the Zerg. I just want to see him take it slow, because if he takes like a very aggressive strategy and it gets into his head, like Rogue holds it easily, something like that, that would just be crazy, but it would just get to his head so much. But we do see that Stargate coming down here, like you said. Pretty standard play.
And a very nice scout timing there on that Classic probe to go over there and see the third hatchery going down. He not only knows that it's there now, but he knows exactly when it was being placed, or it would be the craziest fake out ever that Rogue just did. But yeah, he gets a ton of information from this. And with his Stargate, we'll be able to pressure a little bit, perhaps. Let's see if he wants to go Oracle, which has gotten a little bit more standard, of course, over time here. It used to be Phoenixes were the way, but Oracle's a big surge of popularity, just giving you a lot of vision, a lot of harassment potential. And it's actually going to be Phoenix, oddly enough.
Okay. Well, he's going to be able to use that Phoenix to clear out those 2 Overlords. We do see Rogue already moving his Overlords away, trying to hide that one guy over there to the left, all the way against the wall. Another one over here, but this guy, he knows about it, so this guy is going to go down. Follows it up with a second Phoenix on the way. Probably going to go up to 5, start harassing at the gases and stuff like this.
Yep. Zergling trying to poke up here, see if he can get any information. Does see it's a Phoenix, as the Stargate is part of the wall. You know, it's continued Phoenix production. That's somewhat important to note. I mean, he's already seen the first Phoenix. Robotics does come up here next, as is kind of the way of Phoenix openings. You can't as easily take a fast third with Phoenixes as you can with the Oracle, because Oracle gives that extra defensive potential against speedling attacks. And he's gone up to you know, quite a few probes here, but 9 drones on the way to match him. And that layer halfway on the way here. So everything is shaping up to be really standard. No sort of hyper-aggression of either of these players, and they're really just slowly getting into their builds here. Uh-oh.
Well, that could have been disaster if there were more Phoenixes here, but nice pick-off here. Going to get 2 of those drones. Possibly another one. He's got 3 now. Let's go for another drone here. Spore Crawler's not up yet, and just 1 queen here. He's able to easily micro those Phoenixes and get a lot of damage done here, actually. Gets an Overlord as well.
Even avoids mostly taking anything but shield damage there. Only took about 9 or 10 hit points of damage on his regular hit points. So really nice micro there, able to get that damage done and you know, keep that longevity of those Phoenixes alive. We're now going to move over here to this Mothership Core, likely to take the 3rd Nexus. Bay is coming up at around the same time as the Hydralisk Den, so he's able to sneak this Bay out pretty quickly because he's skimped on units, and with those Phoenixes he was able to see, you know, you've droned up pretty heavily, you've got some nice saturation at that 3rd base. I can probably skimp on a few units here, even skipping on his +1. He's just now adding that after the Bay, so he gets this Robotic Support Bay out really fast, and that's going to allow him to have Colossi out to deal with any pressure at his 3rd base pretty easily.
Yeah, continuing to do a really good job with these Phoenixes as well, picking off a lot of these drones. 3rd base coming up very, very safely here. We do see a lot of Zerglings and Hydras coming out here, as well as that Hydra range, so we're going to see Rogue try to do something with these units as they come out.
Yeah. I wonder how much he's going to commit to this, because I just don't like his chances against this first Colossus being out so fast. With a Nexus cannon he's going to have as well, and he barely has any speedlings on the map. Yeah. I think this is just going to be a pressure play. He's even making drones right now, and he knows this isn't going to be a massive amount of success he can get with this. Does try to zone these units out pretty well. It looks like he's actually going to swing in like a wedge here in between the 2 bases to try to cut off reinforcements and isolate that 3rd base a little bit. Very nicely done.
Yeah. The thing here about Rogue is he did see that Bay coming up, so he knows the timing on the Colossi. He's trying to just squeak in this damage here before that Colossus comes out. His unit's getting a little bit trapped here by a lot of these Protoss units, and the first Colossus is out. He has to be careful, but he's going for the fight here.
Oh, really nicely done. Perfect control here by Classic. Zoning on those Phoenixes was so excellent. Uses the Phoenixes to keep the Hydralisks, you know, in their low numbers over to the side, then is able to pick them up and fight them while targeting his Colossus deftly on those Zerglings to clean those up in no time. A very great fight here for Classic, and now he's massively ahead. Look at the supplies even, 113 to 94, and that was shut down hard. And with all those Hydralisks gone, and with no Hydra speed, which made that fight a lot tougher for Rogue, what can he really hope to do for any length of time right now? That Twilight Council is going to finish. He's going to start +2. He's trying to go into Hive to get Vipers, but he doesn't really have any Hydras or any, like, you know, Roaches or any sort of firepower to back those up right now.
Yeah, I mean, we saw him transition out of that pressure play, and now he just didn't make too many units. He made so much tech here, and he's even going for a 4th base. He feels actually pretty comfortable behind this. I think he's just trying to keep Classic back at his 3 bases and try to get ahead while he has some time, because he feels like Classic isn't going to attack here, and he's right. We see Classic making a lot of Void Rays and going for a bunch more tech. He's getting Blink on the way as well, going for +2 before he decides to go for any kind of attack. So gaining a bit of time here is Rogue.
Indeed, and you know, that attack was just, it wasn't a poor attack. The zoning was started off very well with those Hydras, but I just feel like Classic's control there just really shut it down. That was very impressive, and I'm really trying to figure out a way for Rogue to come back in this game, but it's going to take a miracle, really. The Phoenix is still, all of them alive, very active, harassing, going for gas drones, limiting that gas. And if he's lucky, he might even catch one of these Vipers popping out. It's something that Rogue is going to have to be very careful with. And look at this, he's even moving across the map. Range is about to be done. He's got so many Stalkers warping in to support. There's more gates powering up right now as well. This is a very scary place to be right now if you're a Zerg player.
Yeah, it definitely is. We do see Rogue coming out with 3 Vipers and a bunch more Hydras here. He's going to try to do whatever he can to defend this, but like you said, he's going to be a bit on the back foot here. Let's see how he does against this attack. You see the Phoenixes, again, still out on the map, trying to zone everything out and moving his army units a bit forward, but delaying a bit here, putting down the pylons first, wants to make sure his whole army is together before he goes for this attack.
He even wants to bring those Phoenixes back. He had an opportunity to get an Overlord, but he is like, I got to have everything together right here, right now, all on top of it. Looks like a little bit of hesitation here. I think Classic is assessed with his Phoenixes, you know, constantly poking, constantly scouting. I'm so ahead, I don't need to like do a timing and kill that 4th base. The 4th base is up so late, it's not saturated. I don't really need to worry about this. Even sending a probe over there to check a little bit more, making some pylons on the left side. He's got the potential to harass with Zealots over there with Warpins. Doesn't really need to rush anything right now. He could take his own 4th base and build that Death Ball, make it solid, get some Immortals out here, get that charge up for the harassment, get that +3, and he could defend this no problem.
Yeah, he's going to be totally fine. Already putting down those Time Warps, and he's just going to fight against this. He has a ton of Colossi in the back. The Vipers not doing much. They finally pull. Is it going to be enough, though, here? Pulls 2 of those Colossi forward to the front. He does get 1, but it's just way too much Protoss here. And now Classic pushing forward, pushing Rogue away.
Yeah, a lot of fake Colossi there didn't even come into play. This is just way too much Protoss. The grabs were good, but you could see the firepower wasn't even enough to really target them down. And this Protoss Death Ball is just super, super tough to handle right now. You know, he needs a little bit more firepower in his army. Even with those pulls, you know, it's just so rough. And now we've got High Templar out on the map to feed back those Vipers. And once Storm gets out here, you could drop those on the Hydras, and things are going to get really nasty really quickly. The one thing to note, though, is there's still no 4th base up for Classic, and this could become a problem should he decide to make 1 or 2 misengagements here, take a poor fight, because he is going to need that money. He's very low on gas right now, and remaxing his Colossi is going to be very expensive.
Yeah, definitely. It seems like he did move this probe out here. Okay, he is going to go down for that 4th base now. He's not going to try to end it just now. He's just going to take every fight and go for little advantages here and take those 4th bases. Looks like Rogue a little bit caught out here. Classic going for the follow on this blinking forward, picking off a couple of units, and Rogue is on the run here. Yeah,
Rogue can only hope that maybe this will buy him some time, because these units aren't escaping anywhere. A great choice, though, to split them like this. It guarantees he saves at least half of them. And you know what? He's actually getting away with quite a few of those units up there to the north. Who's to say if they're going to actually finally escape? Doesn't look like it, but he does try to get something done here. He's also got a second group of units coming towards Classic's 4th base, which is completely undefended right now. He is able to force a cancel. Nice rotation here, nice turnaround, bringing those units, you know, of Classic down to the bottom right, baiting him out there, then going in for the stab there on that 4th base.
Yeah, really, really nicely done by Rogue here. He's using the vulnerability of that huge Death Ball to his advantage. He's saying, okay, you can just move your whole army together, but look at this. Hold that thought. He's going to be able to pick off 2 of these Vipers here. Big catch here for Classic, but again, Rogue just running him around the map. Once again, he's going to go for an attack here at the 3rd, forces a recall.
Yep, and it looks like a lot of these units are actually going to get caught in the middle here. Great Storm there. You know, just trying to utilize all of his resources, all of his casters here. Again, it looks like he might force a cancel. Yes, he does. Great map control here by Rogue, but the question is it going to be enough? Because he's still himself, losing so many units every time he does this. He never has an army that's powerful enough to actually take on this Protoss ball, and I think the Protoss ball is going to go all the way home here. He's killed the 4th. These Broodlords aren't ready yet, but with all those Spines and 8 Broodlords, he may be able to hold his ground. How many Voids do we have? Only 2? He may be able to hold his ground here. Let's see.
Yeah, up to 9 Broodlords now. It's just so many of those high-tech units. He's going to have to be able to protect them, though. He does have a lot of the Spine Crawlers, but still a lot of Protoss here. Phoenix is coming in. They don't do too much damage, but a big blink forward here. Does take out 1. Going to go for 2 more here. And Storm's coming down as well. Yeah,
Storm's starting to hit some of those Broodlords. The Broodlords not in the best angle over the Spine Crawlers. They were over that dead space where the Stalkers could hit them freely. And this Zerg army is starting to evaporate now. Way too much Protoss on the ground. And with another Warp and another blink forward, even the Broodlords are dying now to the Void Rays. There's no anti-air here. And this, ladies and gentlemen, will be game 1. Going to Classic here. Very first game of the KeSPA Cup has come to an end. And a great one it was, honestly. Very solid play from both players. I have to say I was almost more impressed with how Rogue tried to come back. GG.
Yeah, GG. I have to say, Classic took some really good engagements. I feel like Rogue trying to go for some pressure at kind of the wrong time. Really nicely done by Classic to get out that first Colossus and that first pressure as well. Able to hold it off completely fine. And from there, Classic just took little engagements to get ahead slightly again and again. And he used that to eventually win the game. But Rogue, like you did say, very nice army control and just trying to come back in the game. Not quite enough, though. Classic too good in that game.
Yeah. I mean, the Broodlord idea there at the end could have maybe saved him had his 4th base not already been in tatters. Completely wrecked by Zealots. Because if he has the Broodlords a little bit more positioned to the right over the Spine Crawlers, they're further back, so it's hard for them to fight. They have to move further than maybe Classic just